Hello and welcome to my channel. In this video, I'm going to be doing a Potterhead fan review of Crimes of Grindelwald. I saw a lot of movie reviews out there, and they were from people that weren't actual fans or Potterheads. And yes, I'm wearing all my Gryffindor stuff, but I have some very strong Ravenclaw tendencies, thus this video. And to my usual subscribers who are super confused by this video, you should be confused. This has nothing to do with peak performance. For the new people, I am a peak performance coach that works with the most ambitious professionals. But this video will not be about that. This video will just be a review of the movie Fantastic Beasts 2: Crimes of Grindelwald. So if that sounds interesting to you, join me and I will catch you on the other side. Hello and welcome to this video. So this video is very different from all of the other videos on my channel. And that's because Fantastic Beasts 2 just came out and I watched it a couple of times, and I'm a total Potterhead, and I wanted to do a review as a Potterhead who has spent so much time and energy dissecting all of the books, the movies, the Fantastic Beasts 1, all of the canon, all the stuff. And there weren't enough reviews that were from actual people who, know the space and have taken the time. And so I thought, if just for opening up the conversation and hearing what your thoughts are, then I would do a review. This is going to be a longer review because what I did, even though I'm a Gryffindor, I definitely have Ravenclaw tendencies, strong Ravenclaw tendencies. And so I took a notebook to the movies on the second time that I watched the movie, and I took notes. And so we're going to be going over my questions and the things that I liked, the things that I didn't like, theories, all of that good stuff. So if you're a Potterhead and you like to go into the nitty-gritty of, this world, this is going to be fantastic for you. Haha, fantastic. Get it? Okay, so I have some notes here, of course. Spoilers. So for anyone who hasn't watched the movie yet, which, come on, what are you waiting for? This is going to be full of all the spoilers. So if you do not want to know what happened, stop watching now, because I'm going to be talking about all the things that happen, and so some huge spoilers in the movie. Let's start with an overall review. I think that this movie was made for Potterheads. This is not the sort of movie that just your average Joe just goes to the movie looking for something fun is going to enjoy without having the background. The movie is all over the place. I mean, it's gorgeous, it's beautiful, fantastic acting, way to go actors. But the plot's really all over the place, and so it's easier to understand, it's easier to grasp, it's easier to engage with and appreciate if you're already a Potterhead. But otherwise, I think it's all over the place, and it kind of makes you leave feeling super confused. I mean, I left the first time watching it feeling super confused, so you can imagine not knowing all of the background that, we Potterheads do have. Okay. So I think you have to watch it 2 to 3 times to really start liking it and appreciating more. After the first time of watching it, that's just not enough. You are going to be left with so many questions. And you can watch videos like this to answer some of those, questions or think more critically about what happened in the movie, but you really just have to watch it more than once. Again, acting was amazing, visuals were stunning, the movie was all over the place. After watching it for the second time, I like the movie a lot more. And it feels like a puzzle. It feels like a puzzle that you have to figure out. And again, for my Ravenclaw tendencies, definitely a Gryffindor, it's kind of fun. It's kind of fun to have to figure this out. And where it left us from Fantastic Beasts 1 is it kind of just left us with so many questions. It was kind of annoying. So there were so many unanswered questions as to what happened at the bakery with Joseph and Queenie. Tina and Newt, they were corresponding back and forth, but what happened there? We got so many new characters introduced, and it seems that they're disconnected, or it makes no sense why they're introduced, although I don't think that they're not, I don't think they're there for no reason. So yeah, it felt kind of all over the place, and it really didn't nicely go from movie 1 to movie 2 in explaining what happened to the characters. I think the movie did a pretty bad job at character development. I feel like the first movie, I think what was engaging and what was beautiful about that first movie was the engagement, the investment that we had with these characters. And with the second movie, there were so many characters, so many different like plot lines to follow, and we didn't have any follow-up as to the characters that we really grew to love and care about. And that was kind of a bummer. Okay, now we're gonna go into questions, theories, and what I thought about the movie, what I loved, what I didn't love, and then just general takeaways. So we're gonna start at the very beginning. Again, I went to the movie with a notebook, so we're gonna be going through some of those thoughts and questions. So it starts with the escape. Here we are in New York, and they're moving Grindelwald back to Europe, and they're doing it on a carriage. Like, is that the best way? Did that seem very secure? I mean, let's think back to when like Harry Potter on like for the 7th book, they like all were on the broomsticks. They were all broomsticks. When, you know, he was gonna turn 17, like that didn't go very well. So did we think that this was gonna be a good plan? Like, no, but anyway. So one of the first scenes that we see is Grindelwald in the room, and then there's this like shield sort of around him. And my question was, is that self-created? It must be self-created, right? Like there's a fly that flies close to Grindelwald. It sort of just like disintegrates. It like fries itself and it dies. And I wondered if that same shield was the shield that was used by that guy who is protecting himself with a shield like bubble looking thing from Credence. I was wondering. And I was wondering if it was Grindelwald that like provided him with that protection. So, interesting question. Question number 2 is, when do Abernathy and Grindelwald do their switcheroo? So we see Abernathy. So when Grindelwald's on the carriage, they've cut off his tongue, all the things. He's in the carriage, and we have some Thestrals that are going to be taking him to London. I think it was London. And, they fly off, and then we see Abernathy sort of on the ledge of this, like, tower-looking thing, and he's holding the Elder Wand. And so the question there is, and what I think happened is the switcheroo happened, when Abernathy first comes to the door, and they sort of do this, like, exchange from like they look at each other. I think the switcheroo happened then. I think that when Abernathy is standing on that ledge, I think that's actually Grindelwald already. And he's holding the Elder Wand, and he goes over, and like the whole magic thing happens. I think there's a part where Grindelwald has this thorny little pet thingy, and I think this is supposed to show us the way that Grindelwald actually is in his relationships. So he seems to be caring and kind to this pet, but as soon as he's done with it, he just easily disposes of it. And so I think that's going to be the case, and we already saw this, and I'm like, Credence, really, you're dumb. We already saw this in how he approached Credence in the first movie. Sort of, if people aren't helping him get to his goal, then they're disposable. And so the way that he interacted with this pet thingy, just like throwing him off the carriage, speaks that he doesn't really get attached. And so that's interesting implications as we think of his relationship to Dumbledore, his relationship to Credence, and it's all the relationship that, I don't know if we can call this a relationship, the relationship that's developing with Queenie, and how Queenie is supporting Grindelwald in giving him information about Credence. So, interesting. Let's see. Just generally, Grindelwald, what a great character. I know that we had some concerns about Johnny Depp playing Grindelwald, but, he did a great job, and not that I like Grindelwald, but he's a great character, right? He has just so much more complexity to him. He makes himself a lot more believable as leader than say a Voldemort. A Voldemort, I just didn't understand why all these idiots followed him around when he treated everyone like trash. But with Grindelwald, you can tell that he's a lot more cunning and manipulative. But it's also been interesting to see the manipulative nature of Dumbledore. And we know that he grows out of this phase and he has to like face himself and understand that his weakness is power. And I'm just wondering to what extent he's grappling with that right now. And so it's really interesting to see both of them kind of be mirrors of themselves. And I mean, it's interesting to see how Dumbledore is engaging with Newt and potentially that sort of manipulative relationship or that like disregard or, you know, using for the greater good, whatever Dumbledore sees to be the greater good in his eyes. So interesting stuff. Right, what are your thoughts? Tell me what you thought about Grindelwald and Johnny Depp. Okay, back in London. So we start off with that scene with Lita and Newt. It's like a very close-up scene, and there's like the button and Pickett like going after it, and then like we understand that there's like some awkwardness between Lita and Newt, and I'm just super confused. Like, she's such a confusing character to me. Why didn't she ever tell Newt she was totally in love with him or totally into him? How does she end up with her brother? It makes no sense. Maybe, I mean, I'm sure she really loved him, but why didn't she just go with the person that it seems like she actually cared for? And then, I mean, this takes us back to the comment that Queenie had made in movie 1 where she says, you know, she was a taker. And that could be because of Queenie's understanding of Newt's perspective of the relationship between Newt and Lita, so that we're not getting Lita's perspective on the relationship. But just like super confusing how she wound up with Theseus and not with Newt, even though she totally like has feelings for him or like just like admires, whatever, like confusing. So if you guys have thoughts as to how that happens, let me know. Okay, Gunnar Grimson. So the Ministry tries to basically, like, it's trying to recruit Newt to become a Ministry employee, like an Auror. And he's like, hell no, I don't do, you know, desk jobs. And this guy, and you know, if you pay attention, there's like this evil music that cues as, I'm pretty sure his name is Gunnar Grimson. He goes like, oh, same old Newt, like, not willing to take sides. I'm gonna have to do the work you're not wanting to do or able to do. And Newt sort of just like leaves the meeting and he's like, I'm out of here. And so I wonder to what extent, because Grindelwald tells Gunnar, and I'm pretty sure it's the same guy, tells Gunnar to watch out for Credence, to sort of like, you know, care for him. Although he doesn't really need to, I guess, for the next movie since they're already on, it looks like the same side. I just wonder if he's going to play another role or if he was only necessary for this movie. It'll be interesting. Time will tell. Let's see. Then we go to Paris, where it looks like Grindelwald and his team are looking for headquarters. They just killed that Muggle family. I was wondering, was that for specific reasons? He seems to do this sort of like sensing, and he's like, oh, that one, that house. So, and then there's a really interesting moment in the movie where there's sort of like a Harry Potter moment where there's like the baby who's looking up at the bad guy. I think that was supposed to take us back to a Harry Potter moment, but like the parents have already been killed. And, you know, I think it's Rosier who then just abracadabras the baby, and baby is gone. And so, again, it shows the sort of the character that we can expect from Grindelwald and how he might say one thing and then another thing is actually the reality. Then we have Dumbledore and Newt in Paris. There's like the glove scene where he brings him up on the the rooftop. And this is where where Dumbledore first talks about the Phoenix. And his great-grandfather saying something about owning a Phoenix. There's a conversation about Frank the Thunderbird in the previous movie. Dumbledore muses upon his own family's association with fabled feathered creatures. And Dumbledore discloses that phoenixes have been closely linked to his family for generations. He specifically mentions that one of these birds came to his grandfather in an hour of need. Okay. Interesting point here. I can't think that Credence is a Dumbledore. So again, spoilers, right? At the end of the movie, we learn that Credence is supposed to be a Dumbledore. He's supposed to be Aurelius Dumbledore, which it just makes no sense. So if a phoenix is supposed to arrive in a moment of need, and we saw that, you know, Fawkes was really kind of in tune with like what a moment of need looks like in the Chamber of Secrets, where Harry Potter like totally needs help, and because he's loyal, he shows loyalty to Dumbledore. Fawkes comes in and, you know, helps. But we have to remember, Credence has had a shitty life. He's had this like super hard life, and he had this monster of like a lady, a bare bones lady, like taking care of him. She was terrible. And I just have to imagine that in his lifetime, there's also like them being like him being chosen, not chosen, but like just happened to be the baby that survived, if that's what actually happened. I just like, wouldn't a phoenix appear at some other time of need? Now there's the whole theory, and we're gonna get into this, of is Grindelwald actually speaking to the Obscurious that maybe somehow transferred itself from Ariana to Credence, and maybe there's a connection there. There's supposed to be a mention of an aunt, like that belongs to the Dumbledore family somewhere. And if I recall from one of the videos that I watched, there was the lady that died during that storm. She's supposed to be the aunt of the baby, not like the mother of the baby. And so she could be, I don't know, like, I guess the baby could be a Dumbledore, but like, bad timing, really? You appear now? I mean, he's like searching for his parents, but he's not in a moment of need. How about when he was being like chased after by Aurors in New York, or when he was being beaten by this terrible lady? Those all sound like hours of need, and this phoenix was nowhere to be seen. So I just don't think he is an actual Dumbledore. Again, it could be speaking to the Obscurious from Ariana. Not sure how that connects. We're going to be talking about this later. There's this whole thing about the evil twin. I'll read more about it. Anyway, so big questions. I personally don't think that... I just don't think that he's a Dumbledore. And there's this whole question of, did we really spend this much time on... Let's see, what was it called? I'll go back to this. But on like the prophecy, did we really spend this much time on the prophecy to like not use it? Makes no sense. So the conversation about Credence, they say, and so I think this is Dumbledore that's talking about this. An Obscurious grows in the absence of love as a dark twin, an only friend. If Credence has a real brother or sister out there who can take its place, he might yet be saved. And so I believe that Grindelwald is the one that says this. I don't remember exactly who says this. But so Grindelwald speaks about Credence as an entity, or maybe like the Obscurious as an entity, which potentially speaks to him not really caring about Credence as much as he cares about the Obscurious. And an Obscurious grows in the absence of love as a dark twin and only friend. So while Credence had to suppress his magic, he developed an Obscurious because it was his only friend. It was a dark twin to Credence. If Credence has a real brother or sister out there who can take its place in terms of love, if there's a brother or sister who can provide love to Credence, Credence might yet be saved. And so this is interesting because it connects to that whole theory of, is he actually a Dumbledore? Does he have a brother or sister? You know what? I think somehow, I don't know if this makes sense, I think somehow this goes back to Yusuf. I might be totally off here. And so this makes me think of, I'm trying to find the name of the prophecy. Okay, let's see. Prophecy. What was it called? Oh, come on. Prophecy. Okay, here it is. So the prophecy, it's the predictions of Tycho Dodonus, right? And this whole movie is basically centered around this concept of the predictions of Tycho Dodonus, and everyone talks about like, well, you know about the predictions. And so the prediction goes, a son cruelly banished, despair of the daughter, return great avenger with wings from the water. So this baby, right, that Lita thinks that she killed was supposed to die. And okay, so when Abernathy and Rosier, when they go to the French Ministry of Magic, they take the Book of Records from its proper place and they take it to the family mausoleum. Is that how you say it? I think it was very likely, or possible at least, that they changed the records, that Corvus Lestrange, I think Corvus Lestrange could be alive, and that Yusuf, and then this whole predictions of Tycho Dodonus actually still is relevant. You have to think how that ties to 1945 and the 3 movies that we have left. But I just think like really we focus on these predictions for just one movie where, you know, the predictions in Harry Potter, it was kind of the basis of the entire series. So to just use it in one movie and kind of throw it away. And, you know, what's interesting in the wording of the predictions, it says, a son cruelly banished, despair of the daughter. So the despair of the daughter, like Lita was definitely in despair, return great avenger with wings from the water. That means, for me, it was like something was happening where the baby was dying, but it didn't die. But then that still doesn't connect to the fact that the baby that Lita actually took was Credence. So Credence still can't be the brother. He can't be Corvus Lestrange. So it still leaves a question of who is the baby. Or I guess she could be lying. She's saying that she switched him, but she didn't. But that would be like extra confusing. Like, are we really gonna do that? I hope not. And so more information about Tycho. Tycho Dodonus was a wizard of unknown nationality and an accomplished seer. And we're seeing this concept of seer throughout these movies. And Grindelwald has a little bit of seer, and then, you know, we have that like hookah, like cranium thingy, weird thing that like sees into the future. But anyway, it like if he's an accomplished seer, something has to be true about this. It can't, I don't think we're done with it. At some point, many, if not all of his prophecies were chronicled in a book called The Predictions of Tycho Dodonus. This comes up multiple times. Again, I think this will come up to play more importance in the future films. Again, so we saw the role of prophecies in the Harry Potter world, so. Okay, so that was the prophecy and my thoughts that I don't think that Credence is actually a Dumbledore, which leaves me in this sort of spot of like, well, who the hell is Credence? Like, we don't really know. I guess he could be like a cousin, because in the script of the movie it mentions this aunt, But again, come on, Phoenix, like there were some like real times that Credence needed you and you didn't show up, and like now you show up. So the point where we first see the baby chick, it's not at a point where Credence is separated from Grindelwald. We are first introduced to Credence holding the chick, sort of in this like attic looking thing. And Grindelwald is on the roof. And so that makes me wonder if he placed that chick there for him to find, so then he could introduce this idea of you are connected to the Dumbledores. My thoughts. All right. So we get to see, we're back at Newt's house in London. And we get to see some baby Nifflers, super cute. We see that Bunty has a crush on Newt, who's absolutely clueless when it comes to relationships, it looks like. Question, the Kelpie, does that take you to Hogwarts? That'd be super cool if it does. And maybe that's going to play a bigger role in upcoming movies. Who knows? So then Jacob and Queenie arrive, and it's a terrible way of explaining how Jacob remembers. It's just one sentence of like, well, I didn't have any bad memories, so I remember all the things. And then he's done. I just, really, I just wish they gave us more. They were the cutest, like, just like the characters that were so lovable and cute. And that's all we get. We get this like one sentence of how it actually happened. And so, lame. Okay. Great. So what we start seeing with the way that Queenie is represented throughout the movie and in the advertisement is she's wearing a lot of dark clothes. She went from her, I don't know, like positive, lively, fun, just, light pink to this very dark, blacks and dark colors. And so even the colors are signaling a change in what's to come from Queenie. And I have a theory about why that's happening, and I'll share it more. So let's see. Okay, this is where I share what I think is happening. So first, I think, so when Jacob arrives and he's under this like sort of love spell, I think it's the same love spell that Tom Riddle's mom used on Tom Riddle, like Senior, on the Muggle. And so I think, so she has them under the same spell. I think it's the same spell. So I think it's like an interesting connection again for Potterheads. I think it's an interesting connection. My battery's about dead. So I'm going to change this and I'll be right back. Okay, back. Great. So I think that the spell that Jacob is under is the same spell that, what's her name? I'm forgetting Voldemort's mom's name that she used on Tom Riddle the Muggle, which is kind of interesting. It's a cute connection back to the world. And why I think that Queenie acts in these very, I mean, they're really out of character ways of acting. It's because I think she's pregnant. And there were some theories going around about how we were supposed to learn that Queenie's pregnant. And if you pay attention during the movies, I think that there's a baby bump for sure. There's like a bump in the stomach. It's an early pregnancy. She knows she's pregnant. And she knows she can't get married. And she knows that Jacob just doesn't want to put her in danger. And she mentions like, well, one of us had to be brave. And Jacob says, when were you going to wake me up after we had 5 kids? And I think, I really feel like she felt like she had no choice. That she is pregnant, she became pregnant, and now she feels like, well, what am I going to do? I live in this country where unions between muggles and, wizards or witches, like it's like we can't do it. And so she's really desperate. And so I think she's under a lot of stress. Potentially there's like pregnancy hormones and all that stuff. And so she's really not her usual self, which we could totally tell she's definitely not the Queenie that we remember from the first movie. What do you think? Do you think she's pregnant? I think she's pregnant, but we'll see. I think we will learn in the next movie. And again, it's really confusing how we're going to go from 1927 to 1945 in the span of 3 movies and get all these questions answered, but it's going to happen. Okay, so now that we have explored the theory of Queenie being pregnant, this takes us back to Paris and the circus team. So we know that Tina is an appointed auror in Europe, and she's looking for Credence that night. She's going to the circus. She's not the only one that's looking for Credence. Yusuf is also there looking for him. And we come upon Credence and Nagini speaking. Yes, we learned that Nagini used to be a woman. She's a maledictus. So maledictus is a female individual who was a carrier of a blood curse that would eventually lead her to turn into a beast permanently. I don't know about you, but definitely made me think about Nagini in different ways. And I'm like, okay, so she doesn't go with Grindelwald, but she does go with Voldemort. Well, I know she was in like the forest of, what is it, Albania or whatever for like years and years, but I don't know. It's interesting. So apparently they're not supposed to be talking to each other in the circus, but they clearly have a thing for each other. I thought it was fun. The French, it's the Musée des Curiosités Vivantes. So I get to practice my French un petit peu. So yes, so apparently she comes from Indonesia. They escape the circus. They do that like whole Credence, like she turns into a snake, she attacks them, blah, 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 they're out. And when this happens, everyone leaves the scene, right? Like all the wizards, everyone just separates. And it's just Tina and Yusuf. And Tina asks the circus people, can you tell me about the boy with the Obscurious? And he says, the circus guy, he says before they leave, he's looking for his mother. All my freaks think that they can go home, which I thought was interesting, right? This idea that maybe there isn't a home for him to go home to. So, because the circus guy, the lead, the head, the organizer of the circus, he says, all my freaks think that they can go home, almost as if it's like a lost cause that not just Credence, but you know the other people that are involved in the circus are part of. Anyway, so that's when Yusuf mentions the predictions of Tycho Dominus. We already talked about that. And then Yusuf basically is going to show Tina some information, and he locks her away in his little basement thing. Then we see Newt and Jacob in Paris. So they're looking for Queenie and they're looking for Tina. And then they do this cool, interesting, weird magic, Appare Vestigium. And so Appare Vestigium is a tracking spell that materializes as a swirl of gold. That's my cat, Crookshanks. No, his name is actually Boots. Say hi. Hello, he looks just like Crookshanks. Hello. Are you gonna help? Okay. So it's a tracking spell that materializes as a swirl of gold and shows traces of recent magical activity. It's used by Newt to track beasts and Tina. And we get to see some like Niffler magic. I guess he's going after the gold. It's like super fascinating. It's interesting. Materializes as a swirl of gold. It was interesting magic that we saw. And then there's like that weird magic also with the feather. That was interesting. So we get to see some new magic in this movie. Then we see Queenie in Paris, and she's freaking out. She goes to the Ministry of Magic. She's like really stressed. Her bag, you know, like comes open, and she's just like not having a good day. She goes out into the streets because they say like Tina Goldstein does not work here, or like there's no record of her, which is interesting. Like, how did that happen? She's like walking up around Paris, and the theory is that she's let down her defenses when she hears Jacob. And so all of a sudden she's like hearing everything. So maybe most of the time she's guarding herself from the other, just like all the thoughts. She's able to do some sort of filtering. But when she heard Jacob, oh, okay, really? You think so? So when she heard Jacob, she like maybe let down her defenses or that filter, and then everything was flooding in. And so like not only is she already stressed because I think she's pregnant, but then like she's in this new country, she can't find her sister, and it's just like so much, and like the pregnancy hormones, I think. So she's just like having a hard time. But it's really interesting how Rosier just like finds her. So we see Abernathy and Rosier at the Ministry of Magic, the French Ministry of Magic, when they're going down to take the records from the Lestrange family like thingy. And so they already are somehow aware, or I don't know how exactly Rosier knows about Queenie, but somehow they do. And so Queenie is distraught. She's on the street. Were they following her? How did they find her? But anyway, she's like, can I help you? And then takes her to headquarters of the Grindelwald gang. Next, we move to Credence and Nagini searching for Irma. So clearly, it's kind of cute. There's a romantic connection, and people were saying that Nagini was useless in this movie, and I don't think she's useless. If it wasn't for Nagini, and I guess it didn't have to be Nagini, it could have been just like anyone, but I'm imagining that Nagini is gonna like develop into this snake, and she's not gonna be able to like turn back. And so we're gonna learn more about that. I hope that it's not just introduced for like no reason. But I think the point that she serves during the movie is Credence is not alone. He has a friend, somebody he really trusts in, and yet he's able to, I mean, fool me once, like shame on me, fool me twice, shame on you, or fool me once, shame on you, fool me twice, shame on me, whatever it is. Like, come on, Credence, are you not gonna learn your lessons? You couldn't trust him the first time, Grindelwald, and you're gonna trust him this time? You're dumb, okay? You're dumb. And the person that you could trust is like, yo, I really don't think it's a good idea for you to join this bad dude. He goes and like disregards that, even though he, has a romantic connection with her and a friendship, and there's really, it just seems to be such sincere, like affection between them, and it's really cute to see. Okay, so yeah, so they really watch out for each other, and that's cute, and I think she actually has his best interest at heart. So who is Irma Dugard? Irma Dugard is the caretaker for the Lestrange family when they were back in, I guess, London, and then they like took the boat to the United States. And so apparently her name is on the adoption papers. And so a few questions here. Why did she put up Credence for adoption or take her to Madame Barebones when he didn't do that? She didn't do that for Lady Lestrange. Probably because she noticed that it's a different baby. I mean, I'm a new auntie of the most gorgeous baby in the whole wide world. And I think I would notice if my niece was switched. I'd be like, yo, hold up a second. That's not the baby I came on this boat with. I don't know if Lita could definitely also tell. And I don't know if they all just played it cool. We're like, right, well, it's the same baby. Though it doesn't look like the same baby, but we're gonna just like act like it's the same baby. I don't know. So questions. Yeah, so like she had to know it was a different baby because yeah, like hello. I mean, she was taking care of this baby for like long enough. So my thoughts are Lita did switch the babies, but I just don't know that the baby dies because this whole thing, back to the great Avenger with wings from the water, like that was included there for a reason. Like something has to come back out of the water. And it could be the baby switcheroo thing that like, I think this baby somehow survives. Maybe, and I had this theory here, maybe a fantastic beast saved the baby. That would be cool, that'd be interesting. But I just don't know how that makes Credence like Corvus Lestrange after all. So, I don't know where this leads us. Interesting to think about. I don't know that it takes us anywhere. Okay, then, so that's what we know about Irma. So Credence is there, he's like talking to Irma, he's like, you are my adoption papers, you're my mom, I'm not your mom, I was taking care of you as a baby, you were cute as a baby. She's lying, like she knows that's not the baby she was raising. And then Gunnar Grimson goes and kills Irma, and Credence is devastated and he goes like that, berserk, and then Gunnar Grimson has this shield thing. Nothing touches. I mean, really? Really? Like, this shield thing protects you from, like, one of the most powerful things that's going to be used against Dumbledore that has, like, the ability to... Really? Like, why not just hire Grimson to do that shield thing, like, against Dumbledore, like, and give it to all of your followers? I was really confused by how Credence wasn't able to do much more. I confused questions. So, let's see. Credence and Joseph are looking for Yusuf. No, Newt. Newt and Joseph are looking for Yusuf. They find them with the arrow magic thing. Yusuf takes them down to the dungeon where they're trying to like save Tina, and they get locked up, but we have Pickett, and so Pickett picks the lock, so they get out, and Yusuf had this weird parasite in his eye, and so all of a sudden he's like out, and they're able to get out and not have to fight him. And they notice that Yusuf has an unbreakable vow. He has some sort of like scar that shows that he has made this unbreakable vow. And he talks about then how he made a unbreakable vow with his dad. And it was either he dies or I do. So potentially like Credence or Yusuf have to die. Whoever the brother, the winged son from the ocean thing that apparently didn't happen but potentially could happen, and just no answers. So like he has like this family tree that's on the roof that's super intricate. Like, whoa, talk about not having a hobby. But here I am making a super long video about this. Okay. So I don't think that the Lestrange part of the story is done yet. I think we're going to see more from the Lestrange narrative. We'll see. And, okay, how cute. Mr. Scamander. That's when we know that Tina is mad at Newt. She no longer calls him Newt. She's like, oh, Mr. Scamander. And it's so cute. There's so many cute moments that I'll talk about a little bit more later. Then, okay, so we go back to Hogwarts, and Dumbledore is teaching Defense Against Dark Arts, which, JK, like, just stick to canon. You should know this stuff. I know it's been some years. It's been 20 years. And I understand that there's some of us who pay more attention, like, we're just, like, more engaged with the story than maybe, like, you took a break or something. But there's some, like, core information that we can't disregard, and just, for people like me that like know the details, we know that he taught transfiguration, not Defense Against the Dark Arts, and then we see the Ministry of Magic coming in and be like, well, you can't teach Defense Against Dark, but he wasn't supposed to be teaching it. It was supposed to be this other like teacher that was supposed to be teaching it this whole time. Anywho, interesting way that they try to get out of that. So the next thing that we see here that also is really like, thanks, but no, can we just, I know we're going back to Hogwarts, but it was cute enough to go back to Hogwarts, and we should have just thought about this more. Minerva McGonagall, did she really have to be there? It was kind of fun to see her, but you know, people like us, we're gonna go back and dissect all the things, and we know that she wasn't born then, and we know that she was born to a witch mom and a muggle dad, and the witch mom didn't tell. Talk about relationships, right? Like, they should hire me as a coach. They didn't, like, Minerva's mom didn't tell her husband that she was a witch, but then they have a baby, and like, your baby has magic. And so she has to tell, you know, the like husband, hey, you have a witch kid. And so this whole time, Minerva's mom wasn't like doing magic, so it couldn't be her. And then her grandmother is a Minerva, but she's like way too old. So the only way we get around this is one of the theories that's out there, and this comes from Carlin Brothers. Hey, Carlin Brothers, shout out to you guys. Is time turners, but can we stop with the time turners? Like, the only time it should have been that we were exposed to them or ever had to deal with them or think about them is Prisoner of Azkaban. And it should have died. Done. Not Cursed Child, not here to bring McGonagall back. I mean, it's an interesting theory of McGonagall fell in love with a muggle, but she wasn't able to be with him, so maybe this is a way for her to go back in history and like help defeat Grindelwald. Too much to try to explain. This probably is a mistake, and I get JK Rowling said, not all is what it seems. And I just really hope that this was done intentionally and that's a thing that makes sense, that goes along with canon. Because JK Rowling, you did such an amazing job at creating this intricate universe that, like, it was incredible how things in book 1 would pop up in book 7 and you'd be like, oh, no, you thought about that? Like, you paid that much attention to detail and that connects, and that, wow, that's so cool. And then that stopped happening definitely with Cursed Child. Although I hear the play is cool, but it's just like not canon, right? Anyway, let's stick to canon. Let's see. Other point, is the Ministry ever on the right side of history? We need to do some better hiring. We just like need to figure out who we let work at the Ministry. We have some idiots really there. So the minister is Torquil Travers. Oh, no. Torquil Travers is the head of the Department of Magical Law Enforcement, and he's not interested in any of Dumbledore's warnings. And he says, Dumbledore, you're the only wizard that is Grindelwald's equal, and I don't like it, but it's the truth. And then he's like, well, you have to fight him, and then Dumbledore's like, well, I can't. And then he goes like, well, you can no longer teach defense against the dark arts. And then apparently that's how we get back to canon and Dumbledore now teaching Transfiguration. Nice try. Okay, then the flashback to the Bogart scene. Yeah, he was still teaching defense against the dark arts. No. Then he mentions something to Theseus about not breaking up a rally, telling us that there's going to be a rally. So we know, like, that's coming up, a little bit foreshadowing. And then Dumbledore and Lena have a conversation. He tells her confession is a great way to free yourself because, you know, he knows about his history with Ariana and all that happened there. And he says, for me, regret is a constant companion. And I wonder how this affected her decision to sacrifice herself in the way that she did at the end of the movie. So interesting. And then, okay, another question here. Queenie and Grindelwald, right? Like, so he meets her in his living room when she's like having this overly aggressive tea that's like, blah, take the tea. And she's like, yo, relax. And, okay, Grindelwald goes, I would never see you harmed. Does he have an American? No, he's supposed to have like a Germanic accent, right? Anyway, I would never have to see you harmed. Isn't she supposed to like read minds? Maybe he's really good at occlumency, but shouldn't she like be able to like feel or something his intent of like he's actually a total liar and he throws these cute little, well, it wasn't very cute pet, but he just like takes these pets and people and babies and you know, his followers, and just disposes of them when he feels like it. Queenie, you're better than this. I think you're smarter than this. Come on, girl. Okay. Then we have the Mirror of Erised, which I show not your face, but your heart's desire. That's what it does. And here we see the Blood Pact, which I don't understand why it showed the Blood Pact, that's probably not Dumbledore's desire, but it probably gave us an understanding of, you know, how they came to create the Blood Pact, and that maybe he like still like, apparently it's like the first time that he felt really understood by somebody else, you know, this being Grindelwald really understanding Dumbledore. I don't know why that like that would be his heart's desire, the like showing the Blood Pact, but that was just probably for movie purposes. So Dumbledore is looking at the pictures. These memories are agony. What is this? This is some note that I made. He's full of remorse for it, but almost worse, nostalgia. He has nostalgia for the only time in his life he felt fully understood, and that was by Grindelwald. And does he still love G, like Grindy? Can I just call him Grindy? I think I should just call him Grindy. Voldy, Grindy, yeah, does that work? So maybe we're seeing him because he still cares. I mean, maybe like you can care and respect someone. Maybe you can care for someone and like not agree. You're like, I love you as a person, but I disagree with your behavior. But it's like your heart's desire. That's the thing that came up in the mirror. It's still Grindy. So we are. So then we have Grindelwald calling his followers. Like, what's with the black sheets? Like, was it just like some sort of for like effect? It was interesting. And again, I think Grindelwald is lying to Credence about being a Dumbledore. I think that Abernathy and Rosier changed the Lestrange records and put them in the grave, and changed the information about Corvus and Credence. And like, they're just like, unless if Lita is lying about switching the babies, then Credence could be Corvus. But I just think it would be a waste of a theory if they just like brought it in. And again, it's not going to mean anything in upcoming movies. And we already discussed that. Okay, Nicholas Flamel. So we see Nicholas Flamel, and we see, you know, I watched it a couple of times, and every time during this scene, like where he does like the funny walk, everyone laughs, so that was cute. And then there's this weird crystal ball, and Jacob sees Queenie, and oh, okay, there's my phone. Jacob sees Queenie, and then they see some other stuff. And then Nicholas Flamel opens up this ornate book, and there's a woman that says, "You have to do this. We believe in you." And you know who she actually is? So this woman is Jessica Williams. Jessica Williams from, gosh, I'm blanking on the show. The Today Show, The Tonight Show, the Today Show, right? So the lady in the book that we see saying, "You have to do this, we believe in you," is Eulalie Lally Hicks. And she's an American witch and a professor at Ilvermorny School of Witchcraft and Wizardry in the late 1920s. And she will have a bigger role in Fantastic Beasts 3. So I'm super excited to see what she's about. And apparently this book is some sort of Order of the Phoenix-like thing. And so I just wonder if this is the beginnings of the Order of the Phoenix, and then it develops into the Order of the Phoenix, because there is actually a phoenix on the cover of this beautiful book that he opens up with these pictures. And the pictures show the members, and there's supposed to be a picture of Dumbledore, but apparently it's still blank. So maybe he hasn't joined just yet. Maybe he hasn't chosen sides, like Newt didn't want to choose sides, especially at the beginning of the movie. But anyway, so potentially this could be the beginnings of the Order of the Phoenix, and that's kind of cool. And yeah, so all these people are fighting Grindelwald, and so that's who this one, because I was like, who's that chick, and why is she telling him we believe in, like, what's the whole point of Nicholas Flamel being there? Like, after the first time watching it, I was like, you're useless. Like, why did we have, like, okay, you connected us back to the Philosopher's Stone, we got to see the stone, we got to see Nicholas Flamel, there was like a funny moment with Jacob, like, you know, squeezing his hand and like basically breaking all his bones, and the funny walk, but like, it seemed really confusing as to why Nicholas Flamel was there at all. Until you watch it the second time and maybe there's stuff and that connects to the third movie and this early kind of version of the Order of the Phoenix, but still. And then we have Tina looking for records at the Ministry. So who was the super creeper lady who was guarding the records? She was just creepy. And not very nice. And then we have the scene with the Zowu, with like when they're escaping the Ministry. That was super cool. It sort of takes us back to when the Harry and Hermione and Ron used the dragon to escape Gringotts. Kind of cool. So I had recharged my battery, and we're now at the end of it. So I'm gonna take this one off and put on the one that I used to recharge. Okay, we're almost there. We're almost at the end. Alright, so they escape they have that scene where Lita is introduced to Tina for the first time. Okay, can we talk about all the cute moments that Newt and Tina have? I have an entire section that's just for that, but that was like, I mean, salamander eyes, forever, hashtag salamander eyes, so cute. So then they go to Père Lachaise Cemetery. I was like, what is that place? So Père Lachaise, the Strange Family Mausoleum. And Yusuf tells Credence, "You are the winged raven returned from the sea. I pity you, but you must die." And Lita goes, "He's already dead. I killed him." And so a few questions here. Why did the father send him to America in the first place? What? Like, especially if he loved his son so much, it was like the one thing he adored. Why send him to America? Like, what was going on there? How did Irma not know it was a different baby? I do think she knew it was a different baby, but that's why she put him with this like terrible woman, the Barebones lady. Who is the woman that drowns trying to save baby Corvus? Lestrange, well, who she thought was her baby, but it was this other baby. And then this woman, when she picked up this baby, I mean, I guess, okay, like, things are super stressful. Maybe you don't know that it's a different baby. I don't know, I would look at it and be like, that's not a baby. I would still want to save the baby, but anyway. So who was that woman? Why was she going to America? And if we really think about it, like at least when I thought about it, we still have no idea who Credence is. Alright, so now we're at the part where Grindelwald is giving the speech to all of his followers and the people, and Queenie is there, and she's excited to learn about, you know, his thoughts and his message. And so Grindelwald says, "We who live for freedom, truth, and love." And I wonder if he specifically included that just to bring Queenie on board, and I wonder if she plays that important of a role that he would include that big piece into his speech. Maybe not. So Newt notices the blood pact, and yes. So after the first movie, I was like, wait, this Niffler is really smart. Niffler just knew to go after this sparkly thing. I know Nifflers love sparkly things. And also, how is the Niffler in the second movie way more disciplined than in the first movie? Like, there must have been a bunch of shiny things when he was going after this pack thing, but apparently, second movie, he's been, like, trained. And so, there's definitely, like, it just doesn't happen randomly. If you watch it the second time or more, you will definitely notice that Newt notices that there's this, you know, shiny, dinkly thing, and I wonder if he knows immediately that it's a blood pact. He knows it's something important. Then he sends the Niffler out to go get the thing specifically. And we see that when he's like leaning over, and then this woman has been attacked, not attacked, like, but like now she's dead or something, because some of the Aurors, fought back. The Niffler, that's when he like does his work and gets this thingy that's the blood pact. So yeah, it was not just like random. He definitely sent the Niffler after that thing. So again, that skull vision hookah thingy, what the heck is that? It clearly tells the future. Is it based off of Grindelwald's own magic? Is it based off of its own magic? Like, interesting. I think it's really cool actually how we're tying this. I love movies, fiction movies that are able to, that tastefully and do this well, that are able to incorporate real parts of human history, like historical events, to fiction. And I really hope, I have high hopes. I hope you do well by your viewers and the people that are so excited for this world. And so I hope they execute well, because there's a lot of potential here to connect what happens with Grindelwald with, World War II. And I really hope they do it well, because that would be super interesting to see. You know who I think did it very well? Wonder Woman. They tied the war to Wonder Woman, and it was just like beautiful how it worked together. So they can take a book from Wonder Woman in their execution of bringing in real history, historical events, and tying it to a work of fiction and having that actually work. So the woman attacks an Auror, he fires back, and then I think she's dead, or at least hurt, and then Grindelwald tells people to go and tell everyone that we did nothing and they attacked us. And so everyone's leaving, and then we have this magic fire thing. I wonder if it's the same or different from Fiend Fire. The Fiend Fire that we saw in Deathly Hallows. So we know that when, what's his name? Draco Malfoy's friend, one of his like posse, they unleash this like fiend fire. But what's interesting about the fiend fire, it has these 3 sort of dragon looking things in it. And there had been some theories about how Newt's Patronus was going to be potentially a dragon, because there was some imagery that connected a dragon to this entire movie. And so that the dragon was actually this fiend fire. There were like these 3 dragons, and the face of the dragon was clearly the dragon face that you see in the marketing for this movie. And I just wonder again, like, this could have been a 700-page book, and it would have been fascinating to read. It would have been so much fun to get back into the reading of this world. And it just tried to do too much in one movie. And this is why this is probably going to be an hour or more, and try to dissect all of the moving pieces. And so there's this fiend fire. Queenie joins the dark side. Apparently she has a thing about being called crazy. Maybe that happened, but every time that something like drastic happens, she was called crazy. And then she's like, oh hell no, like, I'm gonna go join the dark side because you called me crazy, and I'm gonna lose all my cool. But she's pregnant. I think she's pregnant. So so we have this, the follower, Grindelwald's follower, Kral. He dies. He doesn't make it across the fire. I wonder why. I wonder what, like, allowed people to make it past the fire and some people not. Nagini tells Credence, he knows what you were born, not what you are now. I don't know if Grindelwald actually knows what he was born. I know he's definitely telling some sort of BS story. And just Nagini, she really cares for him, and it's just so frustrating to see Credence just be dumb and pay attention to the wrong people. Credence, come on, like, get with the show. You're making some poor life decisions here, clearly. Although I guess now you have a wand, so yeah, you. And then there's a question of, does Lita Lestrange have a power over Grindelwald? Because she's like, Grindelwald, stop! And then all of a sudden he pays attention and he's like, and then she fights him because he thinks she's gonna join him because she's like misunderstood and all these things. She's like, join my child or something along those lines. And then she fights him and she looks to, but first it's Newt and then we look at her and she says, I love you. And then we see Theseus and then we see two of them, Newt and Theseus. And so she clearly cares about both of them. And again, why didn't she just like tell Newt, hey, like I have a crush on you, have a crush on me. Let's be adults about this. We should explore this, right? Yusuf saves Nagini. That's interesting. And then Grindelwald says, ugh, I hate Paris anyway. I think that was funny. And then the three dragons. And I wonder what the three dragons stand for. There was a lot of Deathly Hallows imagery in all of the marketing for this movie, yet the only Deathly Hallow that, I mean, I guess I would have to watch this movie one more time to look specifically for the invisibility cloak and for the Stone of Resurrection. But it's interesting. Well, we know that JK Rowling loves triads. She loves, like threes coming together and also sevens. So I just wonder if these like three dragon heads, at the end, if that speaks potentially to Deathly Hallows stuff coming in the future. Maybe yes, maybe no. But there's a whole lot of imagery for Deathly Hallows stuff. And then we didn't like see any of it in the movie, which was, again, interesting. Sort of, it just raises questions. Then Nicholas Flamel knows how to fight this fire thing. They all go into a circle formation and they put their wands into the floor and they defeat this thing. Okay, cool magic, interesting. And then Newt says, I've chosen my side. And so we know that he now, Lita died and kind of a big deal. So he, at the beginning of the movie, it was like, I don't do sides. And now he's like, okay, I'm on, I don't know, like the government side. And it's probably going to turn out to be more complicated in the future. But he's chosen some sort of side. Then we are at the Nurmengard Castle. And Queenie tells Grindelwald that Credence is not sure that he made the right choice. He's sensitive. And so, good Credence. You're like doing some critical thinking. Like, probably not a good choice. I know you're like wanting to find your family, but are you really going to trust this like jerk, this person that's already been terrible to you? I guess maybe like second chances, but wrong person, I think. And then we have the chick turning into the phoenix, which again, I think it could have been, Grindelwald potentially like had this phoenix show up on the rooftop so Credence would be introduced to it, and then I don't know, he just takes the same chick from the rooftop and like brings it to the castle. I think I don't know. I don't think Credence can be a Dumbledore, so that's my take, and we'll see what happens with this next movie. So Grindelwald tells Credence, you are Aurelius Dumbledore. And the people think that he actually is a Dumbledore because of Fawkes or this like Phoenix. If it doesn't turn out to be Fawkes, it could be Fawkes, but does that mean that he's definitely a Dumbledore? I don't know about that. Again, Credence has had a really hard life, and I just don't know that this is like the most trouble he's ever been in his life. And for it to appear now just seems like really poor timing. Phoenixes, like, you get your act together. You guys should have shown up, earlier. So I have questions about Credence actually being a Dumbledore, or even like the sort of person that would bring in a phoenix. And we know that Credence was hanging out with Dumbledore and the Dumbledore family during that summer. And so he knows about the Phoenix connection. Maybe he like even stole the Phoenix. Who knows? I just think that this whole Phoenix thing was framed, and I don't think he's a Dumbledore. let's see. So he's probably lying, and some parts are probably real. Let's see. So he has Irma, the housekeeper, killed. So he clearly wants to hide something about the actual son of Mr. Lestrange for some reason. So maybe there is a connection to the Lestrange family after all, but I don't know what that is. And there's some theories that Ariana had a baby. Okay, that's really disturbing. I know that JK Rowling will allow herself to be dark in some respects. Not that dark. The only theory that would allow Ariana to have a baby is, like we saw that Credence, he was supposed to be dead, and a little bit of him escaped, and apparently he was like strong enough to somehow come back to life. Again, that whole part was not explained, how exactly that happened. And we understand that Ariana actually comes from an extremely powerful family, being the Dumbledore family. So the same thing could have happened where we thought she died. I mean, she had a couple of powerful wizards doing their thing, and then like she dies. Whereas Credence had an entire army of Aurors attacking him, and he's still able to make it through it. So it could be the case that Ariana's actually not dead. She doesn't die. And maybe that's where the Dumbledore connection comes in. So she doesn't die, and now that Grindelwald knows that if Credence made it and is alive, then maybe Ariana made it, and it would make sense that, you know, she was trying to escape London for America. I think that's how it was going. Because she didn't want people to know that she was alive, but then she dies and her baby is saved. So yeah, maybe that's what makes sense. And then I guess maybe the Credence is the Dumbledore. Who knows? Okay, but really then just bringing on that whole theory just seemed like a waste of time and kind of pointless. Dumbledore's mom, nope, she died, so it couldn't have been him. Could it been Albus's dad? Well, he was in Azkaban. I guess he could have escaped Azkaban, or someone else polyjuiced themselves into Azkaban in place for him. And so he was really out in the world, kind of like similar to the whole Barty Crouch, his mom switching, but the mom was already dying kind of thing. I know, that could have happened, and so maybe the dad was really, these are the sorts of theories that are out there in terms of trying to explain how Credence could potentially be a Dumbledore. And then apparently there's Dumbledore has an aunt, and her name is Honoria. And then the final theory is that Grindelwald is not actually speaking about an actual brother, but he's speaking to Arianas Obscurias and not necessarily to Credence. And that's the connection to the Dumbledore family. So I imagine we're going to find out next movie. I mean, I guess we kind of have to. We're going through a lot of time. And then we have the ending scene with Dumbledore and Newt. He hands over the blood pact. And Newt says, Grindelwald does not understand the things he considers simple, which is very similar to Voldemort. Not understanding love or taking care to understand, elf, not elf. Is it elf? No, not elf. Oh, the house elves. The Dobby. Elf magic. So all of these, these super powerful wizards just not taking time or having the wherewithal or the presence or the awareness to pay attention to things that they don't feel concern them or of their concern. Okay, so that's the movie. We're done. We're at the end. And then we're just going to do some quick synopsis in terms of characters review and just some last thoughts. And then we'll be done. So I definitely wanted to do this because of the entire movie. This is the cutest. So cute Tina and Newt moments. So there's a bunch of these. So first of all, when she doesn't freak out when he's taking the water dragon out of Yusuf's eye, it's clear that he falls in love with her more. How cute is that? Then Newt explaining you've got middle head and Tina being like, Newt, who says that? No one says that. And him being like, well, yeah, I guess only I say that. How cute. Adorable moment. Then Tina attacks Theseus and then Newt says, that might just be my favorite moment of my life. Another super cute Tina and Newt moment. Like, this movie, something it definitely has going for it, are beautiful, cute Tina and Newt moments. And you have to watch it a second time to appreciate it, because the first time you're just like, wait, what the heck happened? And the second time you're like, aw, that's actually super cute. And then there's the, of course I'm happy that I'm happy, but I don't want you to be happy that I'm happy, like that whole thing. That's adorable. And he's just trying to tell her, like, I'm not engaged. It was like a misprint. And it was adorable. And the cuteness, it just like reaches its peak with salamander eyes. Salamander eyes, though. Oh, that was the cutest. And the fact that she didn't find that, you know, Jacob was like, don't you dare say that. That's like the last thing you say to a lady. And then Tina's like, salamander eyes. Oh, it was so cute. And then we can tell that she really read the book that Newt wrote thoroughly, because when they're trying to get the Zoe back in the case, she like takes out the little cat toy and she's able to handle it. And I think, again, like, Newt falls more in love with her, and he's like, oh, she gets it. Like, she doesn't get freaked out when I take this parasite out of an eye. And they're so cute. They're adorable. They're adorable. Like, the adorableness that we didn't get from Queenie and Joseph, we got from Tina and Newt. Grindelwald was great. Lita, I feel really bad for her. She just had a tough life. I mean, I guess she might have been privileged, but like, she just felt terrible about herself. Her whole life, she considered herself a monster. She didn't end up with the guy she actually loved. She wasn't loved by her dad, and it was very obvious that like he didn't care for her. People were super mean to her, and she died thinking she killed her brother when maybe he actually didn't die. So kind of tough luck. I feel, yeah, it's too bad she died, because it would have been nice to see her have some like levity in her life. Too bad. Nagini. Interesting. So I think she plays a similar role to Ron in the Ron-Harry relationship. At some point, maybe I'll make a video about how Ron is just completely undervalued in every review out there. Ron is so critical. Harry cannot function without Ron. And I don't know that Credence is quite at the point where he can't function without Nagini. Clearly he can, because he was like, peace. But she was so supportive and just like there, and saw him for who he really was, and really made space for him. So it's really beautiful. Credence. So he's really obsessed with finding out where he's from. I wonder if this is a new obsession or an obsession from forever. He joins Grindelwald just because he wants to know where he belongs, but I mean, he trusts him after he's already been lied to. Better life decisions. Come on, we need to do better. Credence, if you're looking for a coach, just call me. Okay, this part makes me really sad, and I just really hope this doesn't happen. I know that JK Rowling actually intended to kill Ron like at some point she was thinking about actually killing Ron in the book, and then she didn't. I'm so glad she didn't. But there's an interesting moment, and again, you would have to be a Potterhead to pay attention to it. There's a moment where there's a foreshadowing of his death. So Jacob and Newt are in the beast's basement, and he's walking, and then an augury coughs, and it's supposed to be like a funny scene. He likes it. He's like, I've got my own problems, blah blah, and people laugh. But this is what JK Rowling writes. An augury caws mournfully at Jacob as he walks past. It didn't seem very loud in the movie, but the fact that JK Rowling is writing this is worrying. We know that an augury's, that's what it is, an augury's cry foretells death. Is she foreshadowing Jacob's demise? So this is what, I read this from an article and I was just like, no, he can't die, but he might die to make sense. Maybe that's what brings Queenie back to the good side after she's had her baby or something, like, oh, but Jacob, we love you. So that would be terrible. Alright, so other remaining questions. Where are all the Deathly Hallows? Symbolism everywhere, but not in the movie. And that's it! Alright, so this is super long, but I just had to get it out of my system. I had created this very thorough, analysis of the movie, and wanted to discuss with other people that just pay as much attention to these sorts of details as I do. So let me know what questions, what thoughts, what theories, where you landed on the movie, and whenever the next movie comes out, maybe 3 years from now, whenever that happens, maybe I'll do another video like this. I will catch you guys again then.